So I think we're good, guys. Hi, welcome
Wonderful.
to Val's Life. We are talking tonight. Uh-oh. Tonight.
Oh, where's that coming from? Where's that coming from?
Did you mute your YouTube?
Yeah, I don't have YouTube on.
I did. So there we go. So welcome. Hey, I want to say hi to people that I see in the chat right now. Hey,
Yes,
Robert, I'll be
pop the
sending
chat
you a
out.
link in about a half hour if you can hold on for me in just a little bit.
Val, I think it's your. You need to mute your YouTube. I think it's your.
I did mute.
Your YouTube. So I'm muted.
I'm muted.
I have no audio coming from YouTube.
Huh.
Well, this isn't great.
Cleared up.
Did it clear up? This isn't great.
Ding!
Oh my gosh. Okay, but let me just keep going because I think that's what we're gonna have to do and ignore that was happening.
Absolutely.
Let me see if I got. Hey, Lynn, Canadian Drone Hub's in the house. Rojo, and Paul Murray, of course, is on the screen. Rojo, I'm going to be sending you and Navas and everybody links as soon as we get through the main part, the first half hour of this live. So I hope you can come in tonight because I'm missing you. But we have Geeksvana on, and he did a news story, guys, that was fascinating to me. You know that I'm a real big believer in basically in the rule of law and all that kind of stuff. I am. I believe that laws are there for a reason. But I also know that sometimes things go awry, as they say. And I think Geeksvana found this beautiful story that I loved about, hey, Mike, about someone getting arrested who was well, I'm going to let him kind of start that story because I don't want to give it all away. And it was fascinating. Geeksvana, can you put the link to.
Yes, let me do that.
So he's going to put the link in for the story that we're going to be talking about. And what I'm going to beg you to do, and I mean beg you to do, hey, Essex, is to go watch that after or even during as you're watching us. But you have to be able to hear it, so I don't know how that's going to work. This story, because it is fascinating. Okay, Geeksvana, tell us how you found this guy.
Okay, I mean, basically, I have quite a few sort of. I mean, you know, I am a droner myself. I'm an enthusiast, so therefore, of course, I'm on all the social media, and I'm interacting genuinely. You know, this isn't just a YouTube channel for me; it is my main hobby. And I came across Jason and his plight and his story on a social media post, and he was just chatting about what had happened to him and sharing some of the links and some of the information because although it's been going on for a while, it's now coming to a head a little bit for him with his hearing coming up on the 26th of August. But essentially, he is a Part 107 qualified pilot. He, in fact, works with local and state law enforcement and their fire services to train them to help them get Part 107s. And he found himself in a situation where he was actually arrested for flying his drone in a park where he had flown maybe 35 times before in different parts of the general park.
I'm going to make you back up just a little bit because did you say, I'm sorry, I saw Navs caught a nice scroll for a minute. Navs, I'll be sending you a link soon. Did you say he actually teaches law enforcement?
Yes. Yes, yeah. Well, in the video, in one part of it where he introduces himself, he says that he's a Part 107 qualified pilot, and for his occupation, part of his occupation, he actually teaches law enforcement and fire services to pass their Part 107 exams, and obviously all of the intricacies that are involved with their particular sector. He then found himself being arrested, which was very shocking for him. There are, the reaction to the video has been fantastic. So thank you anybody that's watching. Mike Roche, I know you've commented on it, so thank you very much for taking the time to read. And Lawrence Novice Quads, thank you. And Roger, in fact, sorry, everybody, I'm spotting people that have commented on it. The reaction's been fantastic. Some people have been along the lines of, perhaps he should have respected the law enforcement officer a little bit more and that type of thing. But I have to say, if you listen to the audio, it goes from very calm and very much the officer informing him of what's going on. Literally, the first time he questions the officer just goes, how I would term nuclear. He goes from 0 to 100 in a heartbeat, for just really for him trying to clarify, because of course he's 107 qualified and an expert in inverted commas. He felt he knew the law, and of course
here's the thing,
I wouldn't want to be flying.
When I was watching it, Geeksvana, because I'm going to slow this back down a little bit. First of all, I got him Ankylos 23 Nickerson. That's Boone. That's a friend of my grandson. So I'm giving him a shout out. Also made him a mod. You'll be turning blue, Boone. Very nice. My grandson's going to come in at some point, and he has the same name. I got him Ankylos 1, so I don't know what's up with his name, but I'm so glad. Flying Trucker, Rubber Ducky. When I was listening to the story, he was extremely polite.
Yes.
He didn't start any kind of confrontation. There was no, there wasn't even a smart aleckly, hello, sir, that kind of thing that you can get in times where people think they're being underground, but they're being very disrespectful.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He and again, when I've obviously chatted to him off air and setting all this up, and my own research. He is a very nice guy. He's very well liked. They have in fact created the Michigan. I can't actually remember the name of it, but it is a Michigan Droners Association, essentially, which that group of droners are the party which is suing Genesee County over the regulations that they've tried to put in place. So yeah, I mean, he seems a very nice guy. He seemed very calm. There is actually a link in the description of that particular video, which has audio which I haven't included in my video because it was already 14 minutes long, 14 and a half minutes long. I didn't want to make it too long. And in that video, it's the audio of him going to collect his mobile phone the following day from the Parks Police station, and it was the Parks Police captain that spoke to him. And to me, that audio continues the issue, the worry for people dealing with local law enforcement, because the captain is anywhere between threatening to leaning on him to pretty much take the charges, just say sorry to the judge, you'll get a small fine, everything will be okay, this is what you should do, leave it alone type thing, which was extraordinary. So
Plummet came in. Plummet FPV is one of the guys I
Hi, Plummet.
He goes, sup guys, I'm from Michigan and I've ripped Genesee County many times. So this is why I think it's so important to have this story out, because a lot of our guys, our FPV or our drone flyers, are in Michigan. A lot of, I don't know how we collect Michigan boys, but they come in, and I think this is really important.
They have good taste.
They do. And I got to tell you, I think, okay, so I told you for 14 years, I worked under a judge half of me, and the other half was under commission. And it can be a very tricky thing. And the officers and kind of the mentality that can happen within those confines. So the fact that, but when they were sitting there talking to him, the guy, what is he eating? A donut, a sandwich? One of the officers?
Yeah, I mean, what actually happened there was the officers confiscated the drone and the iPad and everything, and his mobile phone, everything he had on him, and they turned the recording off. They went over to their cars, put him in the back of the police car, went over to their cars, and they actually accidentally repressed record.
That's what I love about this story.
Yeah, I love the beginning bit, which is the first, and I put it at the very first, the hook at the very beginning of the video, which is actually one of the officers asking the other one, "Are we on YouTube? Is that thing recording?" And I just and to be fair also to Jason, as he says in the interview, he sat on that video since December last year, and has only recently come out with it because he didn't really he wanted this all to be dealt with emails and with conversation and with clearing up what's going on, but he's hit such a stone wall that he's, as he says, he's having to bring everything out of the toolbox to raise the profile of the issue.
So the answer, Rojo, would be yes, there is video of it. And what I found just
there's audio of the arrest and then video of the police officers discussing it. Yes.
So were they wearing body cams?
I don't believe so.
I
don't believe so. However, because all of the footage that so far has been gained is literally from Jason's side. So because it actually started before the police arrived, one of the park's personnel approached him and said, "Hey, we need you to stop filming, and just so you know, I've called the police." So that's why he actually started recording audio, because he knew that the police were sort of, something was about to happen that he's never experienced before. And then literally 2 minutes later, they did turn up. One of the follow-up issues, which is where they decided that they would have to take it to court, is to enforce and to really bring about their civil rights as well. Himself and a group of droners actually turned up at the park to fly their drones, as is under the state law allowed. They emailed the police to tell them he didn't want to be sort of confrontational, having to have police flying down there or anything else like that. They emailed the Genesee County, etc. And they actually went down to the park, and the park was locked that morning, was actually chained up.
Oh yeah.
So and it would be. Yeah. So they actually went to a different park, and they had 2 police cars waiting there for them, and then they had 5 other police cars circling the park, and he described it as sharks circling. But they decided to defuse the situation and not fly their drones, of course. Because
and I gotta tell you,
they're not there to antagonize them.
Right, some of the guys within our chat, I think, would just go anyway and start ripping.
Yes, yeah, it would be tempting, wouldn't it?
Not that we're confrontational, but some of us anger management guys. But I think it was good that they didn't escalate it, because they were working on making it turn so that the police would get the sympathy vote, right? All they had to do is get the guys to act up a little bit. They could spin that story on them.
Yeah, no, indeed. And it was following that experience where they thought, okay, they really are going to be and it's going to change our droning, and that's when they then decided that as a group they would have to take them to court. But yeah, Plummet, that's a good point. I mean, we in this country, in the UK, we don't have as many levels of police as the States do. Our police are our police. I mean, we don't have parks police, etc. We just have police. That's it. We do have them, Surrey police, London police, that sort of thing, but they're all just the same police force essentially, or certainly there isn't the levels and layers of police that are available in the States. But that's a very good point. The state police may have been able to do something.
I did it wrong. Sorry, guys. That link isn't going to work for you. Can you put the link back in again?
Yes, no problem.
Because I want to make sure I'm just going to remove that. I tried to copy it and just put it in, and it didn't work.
Yes.
I'm still stunned. So they walked away from the park incident.
That's right. Yeah.
But I could see, I could see that being a problem. Were they all camera drone guys that walked out, or were they FPV? Were they just a mix?
A mixture, a real mixture. But certainly everyone was there ready to fly legally. Obviously with people like Jason, you've got situations where it's actually, he is 107 qualified, etc. So he really did know what he was doing. And they were just attempting to exercise their civil rights under Michigan state law, and fly in somewhere which they have flown many times, or certainly in the Greater Parks area. They've flown there many times.
Right. In though he has a 107, and I'm really urging you guys to watch the whole story after the stream, but to watch it just surprised me. He goes there, he wants to do some videography of a little train that goes through and has people on it, which would be really nice, but on YouTube would probably generate more people coming out, right, to the state park. And all of a sudden he's told, hey, we're going to arrest you. And that's right. Talk between the officers was abhorrent, because they're like, we're just arrest them. Just arrest him. That's what I do. I'd arrest him, take
one
it
of
down
the officers
there,
was actually attempting to get the other officer to actually jail him, to take him down to the station and put him through the system, almost to teach him a lesson, it sounded like. But Plummet FPV, you might be interested to know that we've been contacted by some of the legal team involved in the incident, in the defense of the incident, and they are actually inviting all drone operators to attend the hearing in person, which is on August the 26th at 10 a.m. in the Flint, Michigan District 7 courthouse. So
Mike wants to know, was it a state park or a county park?
A county park, as far as I can tell from my research.
It's in the state of Michigan, in the county of Genesee. Is that right?
Genesee, that's right. Yes, and it's a beautiful looking area. If you look at it on Google Maps, they've got some wonderful parkland, and the general parklands that these officers protect. There's a lot of it, and it looks stunning. I have to say, I could see why, as droners in that area, they'd want to protect what they feel is their right to fly there.
Right. And it's so important for them to do that. I think we're losing land to fly, so that we're getting, but you wonder if the officers, I know they made their statement. I think they were being asses, but besides that, they thought they were saying the truth. I don't think they went in there and said, we're just going to lie to this guy. They just
absolutely. I think it's difficult. I mean, because obviously we have a very different relationship in this country to police officers, so it's a slightly difficult situation. But certainly, I think that where I would fault the situation would be how quickly the police officer escalated being questioned on something in a legitimate way, to ramping it straight up. Literally, if you question me, I'm going to ticket you, I'm going to detain you. To me is like, actually, all I'm, if he had said to him, are you saying you know the law better than me? He perhaps could have said, actually, I'm part 107 and this is the state law and blah blah blah. There is also a popular group on Facebook of, as I say popular, as in there's a number of people on Facebook who have commented on the video who have stated that perhaps he should have just walked away and basically brought it up with the Parks Police Station afterwards.
I don't think he had a chance.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because again, as you say, his I mean, obviously we only have audio of the actual arrest, but certainly his voice doesn't sound like he was trying to be obnoxious or intimidating to the officer. But you don't know what kind of day the officer was having, what week he's had, what it's very difficult, because I have a lot of respect for people, anybody in the emergency services. I have a huge amount of respect for. And it's very difficult for me to really badmouth them too much. But
had I not heard the audio, and heard what the guy said in the audio, it was clear, because he started taping before the officer arrived. Had I not heard that, I would think just because I'm a law-abiding citizen, that there must be something else that I was missing. But
Yes. No, indeed.
because I'm just going to say, because I was able to hear that audio and everything, I got to say that I'm a little concerned that the other officer came out, instead of de-escalating, which they're trained to do. Officers are
Yes.
supposed to have training to do that. He came in and he kind of pushed him to take it to that next level. Now, having worked with officers, like I said, 14 years, I know that they occasionally get an officer who will push someone else to ratchet it up. But he really did that. He did not have any de-escalating skills about him. Eating his sandwich, knee-jerk reaction, and I think that was a little bit more than what I was expecting. So I'm happy that he is taking it a little bit further, because whatever way it turns out, at least he gets a voice.
Yes, exactly. And the captain, the chief of the Parks Police that was involved, as I say, there's a link in the description of the video to the audio of when he went to collect his phone and the confrontation that he had there. That gentleman is actually one of the people named, and as I understand it, does have to come along to the courthouse to put his point across. So I think he will get his time, as it were. He will get his time in he will get his time in court to be able to speak to these people. Thank you, Lynn-Ann, Tony Zelensky. Those two links are very useful for people to look at as well, which have got the local news coverage, and also the link to the forum is very good as well, which I've read before. But yeah, those are very good links if you want to read more about this particular story.
Hey, Lynn, thank you. Yeah, she is spot on things on here.
That's excellent.
We're starting to really rely on Lynn to get us stuff. But yeah, I think that that regardless of how this turns out, we need to know. But you also talk, the commissioners, and you may have said this, I may be scrolling. I'm trying to keep reading the chat and keep asking the question. So if I re-ask something, just please forgive me. But when he went to the commission, they changed that law right then and there to include drones.
Yes, I mean the first reaction after this happened was Jason himself and other members of his group attended about 3 months of commissioner meetings straight to really try and open the dialogue and to really try and really get somewhere with them, but they just got a stone wall. And in fact, as you say, the very first one he attended, which was the first one after the incident, is when they enacted the law. I can't actually remember what you call that over there, that particular level of regulation. But yes, that's when that was put into place, basically.
Yeah, they set these it's not actually called laws much as gosh, it's been
I'm trying to think of the name of the.
What'd you say, Paul?
Yeah, it's a form of regulation.
Our ordinances and those kind of things. An ordinance.
Yes.
And so I've sat through more commission meetings than I care to even remember. It's all a bad memory in here. But they set ordinances, and they do that to protect the people of the county, to do really, commissions are the fiduciaries to make sure the money, all that kind of stuff, they're there for those reasons, and they're important reasons. But just to change an ordinance that's against state law, you know, if state law says, hey, we're going to trump this or whatever they're going to say, that seems a little bit odd to me that they would. But having worked under commissioners, I do know it happens a lot. They just do things and then they wait to see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
I mean, our county was sued and the people who sued them won $5 million because of stuff the commission was doing.
Wow.
It happens all the time. But anyway,
Yeah. One thing which is worth noting is that Jason is very passionate in that he states that they are not looking for any kind of monetary payback on this. They're not looking to cost the county any money further than the hearings are already costing. All they're looking to do is to have the situation clarified, and they obviously hope that situation will be clarified in their interest. So he isn't suing about the arrest per se. He isn't suing on that side of things. It is this local ordinance, as you say, that is against state law, and that's really what they're trying to fight overall.
And if counties work the same, commissions work the same throughout the United States, which they do not, so know that I know that. But one thing that happens is you say you don't want to charge, you don't want it to affect financially, but here's what happens. They get their prosecutor they have hired, so they've already paying them, but they're usually overburdened, right? And they never pay them what they should be paid. And then the guy has to have his lawyer, because he has to have someone who can go into court, because it's going into court, right? And then you take the court's time. So the commission should usually be pretty thoughtful on what they're going to do and why
absolutely
they would do it. And yet these guys don't seem to be as mindful as maybe they need to be. But that's me talking before I've seen everything. So
yeah, exactly, and I hope it gets resolved. I really do. It's a very difficult situation, but even from a straight civil liberty point of view, I think it's impressive that this group of people haven't given up and that they are pushing forward.
And this 107 guy, I mean, he really did talk nicely, and he just let them do what they were going to do. He didn't say, no, let me see the law, because I have told officers before when they've stopped me, oh, I'm sorry, I hate to say this, but I believe you're wrong. And they weren't wrong. They've always been really nice to me. They always let me go and stuff like that. They've always been really nice to me in the county I live in. They've always been really nice. So I don't know. These guys he never said, hey, I'm sorry, you're wrong. He just asked for clarification. He asked if he could read the law that they were citing, which he has a right.
And then he just said to the officer, "I'm not an aeroplane." The particular ordinance he was reading was regarding aeroplanes descending and ascending above the parks, and he said, "Well, I'm not actually classed as an aeroplane. That doesn't cover me." That's all he said.
So here's the thing. Even if it's going on, how they tell you, they go, we don't want to talk about it. Let's not talk about it. Let's just, make it. That's their side. His side
absolutely.
is okay for him to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we actually took
people to show up and say, and to
indeed.
make sure everyone's clear.
Yes, we did take advice before we put the story out, and we did check with his legal representation, etc., that nothing was being said that would prejudice anything or any kind of issue or either side, basically.
But I'm going to tell you, when they go in and they put this like here and here in front of the judge, who's the magistrate for that county, he's a state employee. It's going to be very odd for him to go the county trumps state. It's just going to be an odd deal. So it's going to be fascinating to watch.
I think so. I know that as well. If they fail, now there is if this group does fail, there is another group that are actually willing to help.
I love you.
Basically because apparently this particular issue is happening in about 5 other states at the moment, and there is a group which basically is looking at the commercial side of drones, which I know are actually speaking to Jason that if he needs to appeal, there will actually be a support to be able to do that.
Yeah. So I want to say hi to everyone in the chat real quick and kind of tell them what we're doing. Hey, Lynn, thank you for all that stuff. Plummet, I love you. Droner, About, Bike, and Claude, same person. Hi, how you doing? Flying Trucker, I saw Rubber Ducky, Novice Quads. I'll be sending you a link really soon. Was blind. I love seeing you on here. Michael McReynolds, thank you for coming. Let's see. Anyone else? There's some other boons up there. Someone, I got ankleless ankles or something. Please check him out, whatever that name was. I mean, I don't know whether, I'm sure there's a reason for the name. Aerial Views and Histories UK. How you doing? So what happened was I was watching a story by Geeksvana today. In fact, Canadian Drone Hub, Roger told me you need to see the story. So
thank you, Roger.
Roger sent me there. And so I saw it and I thought, okay, I'm getting a hold of Geeksvana because I wanted to come on and talk about it a little bit, because I think there's thank you, Michael McReynolds. I think that people, we get into this we get into where drone flyers can sometimes be really, confrontational. And then the police, because of that, they feel they have more right to ratchet it up. This guy was not confrontational. I have heard confrontation.
No, I mean, as far as what we heard, then
Yes.
it doesn't seem to have been.
Maybe when he was
and
alone in the police car, he was kicking things.
But yeah, exactly.
He wasn't at the time, and he's a 107 pilot. So he actually, it could be really bad for him if he were breaking the law as a 107 pilot, because he can be held liable
as an instructor
things,
as well.
right?
He is a 107 instructor, so that could cost him his livelihood.
Well, let me ask Paul. Paul, when you're a 107 pilot and you're caught flying somewhere you shouldn't fly, how big a problem is that?
Big problem.
A big problem, right?
And also, just to correct Sean, he may not know this, there is no such thing as a FAA drone pilot instructor. There is no. There is no designation.
He's a 107 instructor, as in he trains people to help them pass it.
He's helping with that, but there's no FAA 107 drone instructor.
That's right. He actually says that in the interview. Actually, he actually says that you don't actually have to have training, you don't have to, et cetera, but he says that they help people get to the position where they can pass it.
So, and he's hired to do that.
Law enforcement and fire service that he does that with, which I thought was
so. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, that's true. But he does help people do that, and so that's one of the things he does. And I'm going to tell you, when your county is trying to get people to pass stuff, like when I was teaching him, when I was teaching restorative justice, I had to teach them that. So because they have so much other stuff to do, they can't spend all their time, right? They need instructors that helps them. So they end up hiring people who facilitate that for them. So really quick, I just want to say, Centro, to see you. So that I got him Ankless 1. That's my grandson. Nobody subbed to him. Oh, he's telling nobody to sub to Boone.
And his friend is Ankless 2, right?
Ankless 2, 3 Nickerson. So we got a couple 13-year-olds in here, guys. So be kind. Be kind. Don't sub to Boone. He's in chat. Okay. Guys, don't get my channel demonetized by talking about subbing and not subbing. But I'm gonna give Boone a quick shout out. I got him Ankless 23 Nickerson. He is a very good basketball player, and I watched games with him and my grandson playing. And I got him Ankless 1 is my grandson. And my ankles hurts now. I know, Claude, mine does now, because my chat is busting open here right now. So, guys, Saucony Bay and Midland County Police like our quads. They stop and watch us all the time. And I wish more of them would do that. Hey, Karen.
One thing I would actually say is that, which is in response to that comment, is a lot of the comments, and I mean, probably 30-40% of the comments that we've had on Facebook to the video have actually been stories of people that actually have met officers whilst they're flying, and the officers are thoroughly enthralled at what they're doing, and stand chatting to them. There's one chap there who actually filmed an officer's canine running up and down the park for him, and he just met him sort of that day, you know. So there is a lot of positive stories out there as well of the two things intermingling.
Hey, Aerial Views. Yeah, I respect officers because I believe they put their lives on the line. And so it's a job that's extremely important for them to do.
Absolutely.
I also realize that sometimes you get a few rogue officers, like I think these two were, that just say what they think is real and they go with it. And they have a bit of issue.
Yeah, I call it the Barney Fife mentality.
Well, I guess we won't be going through Michigan anytime soon, at least not Genesee. I didn't say that, Genesee. That was no, but they do. They sometimes you'll get someone who thinks they know something, and can I get a drone? Boone, I would be afraid of you and a drone. Oh, this is not a give me a drone channel. You that don't know the law. Yeah, well, there are a lot of laws. This is new, and yeah, it can happen. So right now, hold on. Let me go see. Yeah. Okay. So the law that I believe that they were talking about, it stated that no one in an airplane, inside an airplane, so it'd be a manned aircraft, not an unmanned. And so he was stating something about airplanes cannot, basically you're not going to be buzzing the park, right?
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
And they are in the actual, and when people are in private planes, they can fly low. I mean, it can be quite dangerous over state parks.
It is something which is worth clarifying. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So the suit then says Harrison was arrested by a park ranger and subsequently cited with a misdemeanor for violating park rules regarding the flight of balloon, airplanes, and parachutes.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the part. And it wasn't the guy that was in there said police. So, but park
police aren't police.
Yes, it's the Parks Police, Michigan, but yeah, the Genesee County Parks Police.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you some fishing game and things like that are allowed to. They do carry those regulations, and they can ticket you and all that. That's like at least in the county where I work, they could. I don't know about Genesee County, but evidently they were able to because he was arrested by the park ranger. He's arrested by him.
Indeed. I mean, the original citation is actually in the video as well. There's a link to a better copy of it in the description. It's an interesting read.
Okay, Darius, I'll see you soon, darling. I think I see him on Thursday. So I'm going to go in really quick because I want to bring some other people into the chat. And Geeksvana, just, please hang if you can, because I'd love to have you stay. But I want to talk about this a little bit more. So I'm going to get this. Usually it brings up all the people I want. Okay. This. And then and him. And sorry. Here we go. I'm going to bring up a couple 107 pilots.
Kim cracks me up. Hand them a permit and give them a coupon for donut store.
Oh my God. No.
Hey, Kim.
Don't.
He's one of those ones Val talked about, a little bit confrontational.
He'd be the confrontational one. Scrappy dude. Take care. Hold on. So I had Robert at Centroid, and there was someone else now. Oh. Okay, because I said to bring him in. I think I have everyone. If I forgot anyone, I'm just going to apologize now. It's not on purpose. Okay. Let me shrink this down. Okay, guys. Yep, I am. Yep, Scrappy. Take it easy. Take it easy. This is the USA. That's how you get your ass kicked. Yeah, don't be handing them donut coupons. I mean, yeah, I believe in showing respect to officers. but I think sometimes things can get, if they don't know the law, and I'm sure someone told him, because if I remember correctly, when he went to get his phone, he was still getting trouble from the captain, right? So he was
That's right.
he was
That's
being
right.
told by someone that this was the law,
Yes.
right? He
I mean,
was that officer was being told
pretty
that's
much
law.
trying to get him to follow, to just fall in line essentially, and to accept it and just get a slap on the wrists in front of the judge and move on.
Right, right. So that's something that happens. Yeah. So I was just, so Centroid, I sent you a link, being a 107,
Hey,
Mr.
Lawrence.
Hey, what's up, Sean? How are you? You
I'm
know,
good. How are you, sir?
I'm glad you brought that story to my attention, because it's funny. I live here in New York, and my nephew-in-law lives upstate New York, and he contacted me one day to let me know that my daughter's school was shut down. And I'm like, well, how the hell did you know her school was shut down? You're way up there in Utica. He says the Facebook page of Rockaway, where we live. Anyway, this is kind of like the same thing, because I didn't even hear or know of this story until you brought it out.
Okay, Centroid. Don't worry about it, Centroid. He's getting close to being done with summer school, correct?
There you go.
Yeah. So
Probably reading papers or doing reports.
yeah. So I think, I don't know. I think that was just an important story that needed a little bit of air, to get out. So
Absolutely.
that we're aware.
Which is the reason why I offered to make the video with him in the first place, because I just felt like he was posting it here and there, and it had some local coverage, but I feel like it needed to get out to a wider audience, and perhaps my tiny little channel can be the first step in that, in just and hey,
you have a great channel.
We've reached Plummet FPV, and if Plummet FPV manages to get down on the 26th, that'll be one more person.
And also Night Train's in the same area, and 26 is in the same. Okay, stuck in a full day conference, and I was bored to tears. Okay, can I tell you, when I used to have 2 conferences and all day, I would just want to cry too. I hate conferences. When, yeah.
There's a certain level of tired you reach, isn't there, in conferences, and your sort of eyelids are just.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you know all the players, and I think he agrees.
Yeah.
People do
told them before,
and they're telling the same stories they always tell, and then you're sitting there going, "If I hear that story," and you start pulling the knife out.
What's up,
exactly.
What's up?
So yeah, I got to tell you, that is surprising that is, but maybe it shouldn't be surprising, because we see that all the time, don't we? That people interpret the law, right? And law gets changed because they go, now, no, this is my interpretation. And then they clear that up, and everyone's going by that, and they go, oh, now we're going to interpret it a different way. And having worked within that system, I got to tell you, it's crazy. No one knows what they're doing half the time.
Well, that's the same thing here in New York. Now, they claim there's no flying drones in city parks. Well, NYC metropolitan area, all of the parks are city-owned, if not state-owned. There are very, very few private parks. And every year they print brand new signs that say no barbecuing, no loud music, no dogs, no this, no that. And they cannot print no drones. So I question that sometimes. Like if a supervisor, one time a supervisor was like, well, yeah, I know what you know, and you've been flying here for years, but I'm here today and you can't fly here. And I was like, okay, cool, no problem. But to show that he didn't know he knew what he was talking about, he was a supervisor of the Parks Department, and he told me to go fly in a state park. And flying in state parks is illegal.
Is that for every state?
That's crazy.
I don't know about every state, but in the state of New York, flying in state parks is illegal. But
I believe so, though.
What's that, Herman?
Yeah, I believe I've heard that
That's
before.
the case in every state park across the country.
Okay. Herman would know. He's AMA. He would know. So I would believe that.
Because I've heard of people in other states occurring the same issues. And,
Now, here's something funny, because in the off season, from Memorial Day, which starts the summer season here in the States, till Labor Day, which is the last holiday of the summer here in the States, and ends summer season, you're not supposed to fly in a state park. But in the off seasons, they may say something, they may not say anything. You can stand on the city sidewalk and fly over the state park or whatever, but sometimes in the off season they don't say anything, because usually the state parks aren't manned in the off seasons.
Yeah, I got to tell you something. In Idaho, everything's either state owned or federally owned. Almost everything. We have a lot of land like that.
all of your city parks are state owned too?
They're city owned then, but we have a lot of like rural and frontier area.
We do too, and the state pretty much owns a lot of it as far as the state park is concerned. The only thing is that certain places that are even owned by the state here, when you go on them to apps like Kitty Hawk and Air Map, they don't have them listed as no flies.
Yeah.
Now, when you go to other parts like Harriman and other places like that, Bear Mountain and stuff like that, they are no flies. They don't tell you that, well, I know with DJI, they don't say you can't take off. They just let you know that there is heavy penalties. It could be penalty and fine for flying in that area.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And the first question they hit you with now is, are you taking responsibility for this flight? And if you click confirm, you're accepting responsibility for flying in that area.
Exactly.
And DJI Drones does ask you that question. Mike Root says he flew in a state park 3 days ago before Memorial Day. Nobody noticed and didn't care. You know why? Because they were probably getting ready for the summer season. Because I can fly all up and down the beach. I can walk in the sand. Herman and all of us, we were actually flying, about 10 of us one time out here. Herman, you remember, because that was the first time Matt was here. And a helicopter came down the beach. Now, we have radios and everything, but a helicopter came down the beach at maybe 200 feet and actually hovered, and the splash over from one of their radios, because we usually tune to police frequency and have a frequency for ourselves. And one person heard over the radio, oh, they're just flying drones. And the helicopter hovered there for, I don't recall how long, maybe about 2-3 minutes. It just hovered, and everyone lowered and got below the helicopter, of course, and it just took off down the beach, and that was it. And this was in the off season. Now, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, we wouldn't have been able to do that.
Right.
I've applied for a permit to fly in the state park, and what I'm going to do one day, Lawrence, is I'm going to look for the letter that Bear Mountain sent me, the lady who knows that I spoke to over the phone. And she emailed me all the paperwork, and I filled it all out, and I emailed it back to her. I want you to see the letter that she sent me back. Basically, what she was saying is that they could care less if you fly in that state park between Labor Day and Memorial Day weekend.
That's interesting.
And they will grant you a permit to fly anytime during that time. But
yes. A park. Randall's Island is
Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day.
So I think that's the important thing. If you get permission to fly, you can fly, and that's something
not true. But not true. Not true. Legally, you have permission to fly. If you have a knucklehead cop that says you can't fly here, and he wants to be a prick about it, he can upset your day. Now you can
well, and that, by the way, Val, it's okay. I wasn't invited in.
You can ask to be a supervisor.
Mike, I would so bring you in.
I mean, you can ask to speak to a supervisor.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Okay,
oh
but
my God.
That's going to make things a little worse. If a supervisor comes and says you have to go, You can actually speak to a supervisor and he could tell you, no, you got to get the hell out of here. The best thing to do is just be quiet and say, okay, cool, no problem. And then you go to the precinct, the local police precinct, and you file a complaint and say, I had a permit to fly in this area. Why was I stopped from doing it?
Well, you can show it to him.
Right, you show it to him. That's true too. That's true too. But also with air maps, you guys are familiar with air map and Kitty Hawk. Air map gives you authorization over the phone to fly. I could request authorization right here in front of you guys to fly around my house, and I'm outside the 3-mile marker of an international airport. Okay, now if a cop comes up and says, you can't fly here, and I pull out this air map app that says I have authorization, it's still up to him as an officer to be a prick or say, okay, all right, I guess you have permission to fly. Someone called the police on me, Herman, Cool, Bick, and Big Matt. And the lady, the officer said, a sergeant came up and said, a concerned citizen was concerned about 5 guys flying drones at the end of the bridge. And he also said, I hope none of you guys are flying over the bridge, which none of us were. But I remember seeing this lady there, standing there on the phone. Yeah, and there's a big one over by, and I remember it, but vaguely because I was flying. And then once the cops came, then I was like, yeah, she was calling the freaking cops on us.
So, Drone Pool, I'm going to tell you, I listened to what he said and what he was doing, and it didn't sound like, the officer said you can't fly here, and he talked to him about it, but it was respectful. I didn't see him outside and flapping his lips or doing any of that. He was being very respectful. I think that when we get to the point when an officer says something and we never ever question,
well, Val, what
that's doing a little bit too much of a lockstep for me. I think you can ask, and then they are.
Val?
Hold on, Lawrence, but they have a right to say, you know what? I get to ask that rule that you're reading from, and it's their responsibility to tell them that. It is the cop's responsibility. Now, whether they want to or not, that's another deal, but they should.
Now, you're talking about a regular police officer. These are park police. These are guys that are minimum wage. They're happy to have a uniform and be able to tell people what to do.
That's true. And the fact that
they can arrest, they're an officer.
Remember in the audio, the officer recited about aircraft, right? Yes. And he said, I'm not an aircraft. So then the officer goes on to say, well, this, and this law. And immediately he said, where is that written? Can you read to me where what you said was written? And I think that's what made the guy click and say, oh, wow, he caught me, stating something that's not in the book. I can't read him something that's not here. And then the conversation turned for the worse.
Well, and that's another thing. If you're going to state something, right, you need to know that to be the truth. And usually officers are pretty good. When they were explaining to me how I'm not allowed to do the U-turn they did, and they stated that this is where, and I was like, wow, because I did not know that. I thought you were allowed to make U-turns wherever you wanted to, unless it said don't do it.
Okay.
And evidently that was not true.
Well, actually, as a driver, that's something you should know. And that is something that the police, they know that. But
I told them I thought he was wrong. He was not wrong.
But things like what the conversation is about, the police have a tendency to quote shit to you. Excuse my language. They have a tendency to quote something to you, and that's the only piece that they know. And if you know more, now they're embarrassed, and that's when the problem starts.
Well,
and that's all it is.
Yes.
Having known many officers, I'm going to say at times for certain officers, that can be a problem for them. It can be when they're asked to say, okay, because a lot of their stuff works just because we have the social contract. They tell us something, we do it.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Drone Pool agrees with you, Herman.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem. And and the problem with a police officer is that he's more like and I hate to insult police officers with this if it does, but they're wind-up toys. They're only going to do what they are told to do. And a police officer, if if the sergeant says this is what we're focusing on today, that's what they're going to focus on today.
True.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say that sometimes they're told which lines they have to follow. And I do know that, and they're supposed to follow that. And then you get the rogue officer that just kind of always does his own thing. But most officers, regardless, if it's not the law and they're told to do something, they have a right to say, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not saying they do that, but they have a right to say, no, even to their higher ups, we're not doing that. It's not the law. I've known officers who've done that. Now, their life isn't easy after that point for a while. But they stand up for what's right and should. But anyway, some of them get a big head and go rogue. Some of them go rogue. Some of them have a really bad week or month and they go rogue. It's true. It's true.
So Sean, you do plan on following this story up? I'm hoping you got the breaking interview.
Yeah, Geeksvana has to follow up on this because I want to know.
I'm chatting again. We're actually they are taking some video for us in and around the courthouse where they're allowed to on the day itself. And then yes, I'm doing a follow-up interview with him afterwards. And then obviously depending on what happens, if they lose and have to appeal it or what happens, we'll be following it all the way down the line.
Either way, it'll be a plus to know what's going to happen.
My question would be is why did he contact the FAA? He's licensed by the FAA. The FAA runs the sky. Did he contact the FAA? And
right at the time,
what was their response?
I don't know.
Yeah, I believe his legal team or the legal team on behalf of the Michigan drone organization that is taking the county to court, their sole focus, 100% sole focus, is on having local ordinance revoked, or certainly having a judge say it is not enforceable above state law. I believe what they've tried to do is focus entirely on that particular point.
I guess my point is only this: is the FAA, if they were asked to rule on this, all of this is moot. The FAA says nope, you can't do that. Then they can't do that.
Well,
I agree.
I have to make a statement here. We do keep kind of diversing from the subject. They were state parks department employees. Whether the police actually came afterwards,
not a state park, but county park.
But here in the state of New York, I do know that the Parks Department does have the right to take you into custody and hold you until the police come.
Yeah.
They don't take you into custody and confiscate your stuff. I mean, Herman and I were told, you don't get out of this park, they're going to catch you and they're going to confiscate your stuff. And Herman and I looked at each other like, okay, we'll leave, but okay.
And let me explain something about state, federal, county, city. They all have a little bit of friction between them.
Yes, they do.
Because federal has a law, you got to follow federal law. And then states say, hey, we got states' rights. And we're going to say what goes on in our state, which is really well known in Idaho, right? When they say we're going to tell the feds just to get out of our backyard type of deal. So you get that. So you can call the FAA all you want, but you may get a very different reaction regardless of what's right and what's wrong, depending on where you are. And then the county will say, what does this state know about my county? And then you get the same thing with the city. So there is even though you say federal trumps state, I'm going to tell you, if you lived in Idaho, you just sit there shaking your head the whole time, Len.
Well, in Idaho, they still shoot drones, don't they, in Idaho?
They do all kinds of stuff here.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to mention also, my brother is a federal corrections officer, right? And as a federal correction officer, you're allowed to take your firearm across state lines. As a federal correction officer, you do not have to notify local precincts that you're coming into state, whatever the case, because you're federal correction officer. That's how you import people like this guy from Mexico that they have here in New York. Okay, they use federal correction officers to transport these guys. But my brother has told me that he has been stopped by cops, and cops were like, I don't give a damn who the hell you are. You're in my state. You know, so you got to watch for stuff like that.
Depending on what state you're in.
Right. And I know Parks Department employees, at least from my personal experience here in New York, 9 out of 10 of them are friendly, but 100% of them are misinformed on drone rules and regulations. There's no reason a supervisor, right, but there's no reason a supervisor for a Parks Department, city Parks Department or state Parks Department to tell me to go fly in a state park when it's illegal to fly in a state park.
Well, I'm going to say that this whole drone thing and the upheaval is so new to everyone. It's just new. That came out with the regulations. Can't really blame people for sitting there going, well, I know it's federal, and then this law, and then there's a state law, and then there's this county and this city. It's hard to marry all those together. But if you're in a county and they tell you that that's the law for them, they're believing that. They don't care. The one reason that can usually make state back down, counties back down, is when a state says, we're pulling our money, county, because we told you.
Right.
That's what makes them back down. If the feds come in, which I've seen them do, and say, we're pulling our money because you're not really doing this restorative piece, or you're not doing this juvenile piece, or you're not doing this, we're pulling our money until you straighten out. That's how they usually get compliance really quickly, because no one likes losing their money. I'm just going to say that. There you go.
So whilst we're discussing this, obviously educating the British guy over here with his one set of police force that we have across our entire country, and that's about it. You know, we don't have agencies upon agencies, etc. So as park rangers, as Genesee Park County Park Rangers, Park Police, whatever you want to call them, in the video and in the audio, obviously they arrested him. You even one of the bits
heard the handcuffs click.
I loved it because it was very stressful for this guy, so I didn't love any part of it. But this part I loved as a YouTuber. You could even hear the handcuffs clicking as he puts the handcuffs on him, which I thought, wow, that's some audio to capture of your own arrest.
Well, I think if I remember, he was recording through his phone, and I believe he still had his phone in his hand. So when he put the cuffs on, it's like the cuffs are right there.
Of course, they're right next to it. Yeah. Yes, of course, yeah.
And then they took the phone
and then in the video, one of the officers was giving the other officer a tip, as it were, to say we should actually take him down to the station and book him, etc. So how would that work as a park ranger? Do the park rangers have their own little police station? I mean, that's how I envisaged it.
They'd have to take them to the county sheriff's department, and then take him in there to the sheriff's department desk officer, who would probably look at him and say, "You did what?" No, I got to do paperwork because of this.
Okay. So the extent of their individual power is detaining whilst they give the citation, and then
the ticket. Right.
So it's catch and release or hand over to the relevant agency.
Yep. Exactly.
Did they Mirandize him?
Not at all.
I don't believe they did. No.
Hold on, Herman. What were you going to say, Herman?
Well, if that had happened here in New York, there's a couple of things that would have went down and how it could have played out. He would have had to call for backup right away, and he would have had to make sure that NYPD was coming quick, because it's a situation where people would either take off not respecting because he was a Parks police officer, or he would have to come with some of his other friends or officers to make sure that they can control the situation if he was going to confront you with something that he wasn't quite sure of himself.
Well, I think this was such a cluster from the beginning, because they're right. See, if you give someone a ticket, you don't have to Mirandize them for a ticket. You have the right to you give them the ticket. You don't have to get them to agree that they were wrong or anything. That's what he should have been doing. He should have just handed him a ticket and said, okay,
Right.
if you don't think I'm right, you can go down to the court and you can do that. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what most of them would say normally.
Yeah.
The
I think
fact
in
that
the
this didn't
chat,
happen.
Lynn Ann's point in the chat is if they actually did detain him and they arrested him, obviously handcuffs on, etc., then they should have Mirandized him. And I'm from my conversations with him, I believe they didn't. But then the citation did go away very quickly afterwards.
Right.
I think Barney got backed into a corner and he had a set of handcuffs on him and say, "Ooh, I get to use them. Ooh."
That's probably what happened.
Yep.
Well, I think that they have the little cards, all the officers, and whoever has the powers of arresting are allowed to have those cards, and they're supposed to read them. But I got to tell you, if all they were doing was taking him down and they hadn't really charged him, then I'm not sure the guy would have put those two things together.
Well, I can say one thing, Val.
Offense.
Here in New York, Val, the Parks Department people only ride around in a car, one supervisor, one lower person in a car. But usually when they have Parks Department patrolling, there's one on foot and there's one in a car. And I can tell you right now, had that situation happened to me and he said, well, I'm going to have to arrest you, I probably would have took my stuff and started walking away. And somebody would have saw a camera or picture of a guy being dragged along my leg while I'm leaving the park, because I'm not going to stand there and let you arrest me when I know you're wrong. And I will not stand there and fight with you either, but I'm not going to let you arrest me. You can give me a ticket, I'll accept a ticket.
Really fast, I'm going to say the gal that I interviewed last Sunday is in the house one day living. Can you say hello to Victoria?
Hi.
Hello, Victoria. That's Val's niece, or
no, it's just my niece.
Just her niece. Okay.
Yes. So how you?
The point I'm trying to make is, I think the point I'm trying to make is, I think here in the States, depending on the state, it can be different from state to state to state, because Parks Department people here, for some reason in New York, are really, really short and small.
Right, Lynn.
I'm 6'3", okay? I weigh 270 pounds, and the last Parks Department person that spoke to me looked like she was about $110.
Yeah.
Well, and see, what I've experienced with the Parks Department, they're not going to come to challenge you on stuff like that.
Right.
The city may say that, there's areas where they don't want you to fly. Okay, fine, cool. After listening to the stuff from the FAA, they're telling you, the FAA believes in those gray areas too, that they're allowing these cities to come up with, little spots here and there where they don't want you to fly. And I don't know where that's going to go, but like Lawrence was saying, in our Parks Department, they're not going to come and challenge you like that, because usually there's one guy in the car. Now, we had an incident where we were flying. Well, it wasn't really an incident. We were flying over at this one park, and the Parks Department guy came over and told us that, we weren't supposed to be flying there. And he did say what was he talking to Big Matt? He had said about how that, they told me I'm supposed to confiscate you guys' stuff, but when him and Lawrence was towering over him, and then I came over to see what was going on, and the guy was, he just wanted to talk. He didn't want to be confrontational because he's by himself.
Right.
You understand? He has no gun. He's by himself. His radio is his only line of defense.
Yes. Now keep in mind, I'm 6'3". Big Matt is about 6'5", 6'6". And Herman's tall too. This guy could have been no more than about 5'7". So we're talking to him as nice as possible, Sean and Val, and he's looking like this, like a small child up and an adult, while he's talking to us. And we in no way intimidated him or anything, but he did say, I'm supposed to confiscate your drones and give you a summons and a ticket to come pick up your drone. And me and Matt looked at each other and chuckled. And we didn't mean to, but it just sounded kind of funny. you know, to be in a situation like that. But he was very friendly. He said, if you want to fly on this island right now, you have to apply for a permit. Whereas before, we used to be able to go on that island, we'd have a meetup with about 15, 20 drone pilots.
And 2 police officers and a dog.
Yeah, that's true. That came to hang out with us.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
So guys, so this is what I want to say. So it says under arrest, public legal education, a police officer can charge you with a crime without arresting you. If they do arrest you, they can charge you and then release you.
Okay, but what about Parks Department?
You know what? It depends. Like what I know for sure is Fish and Game, which is part of a federal thing.
Yeah.
They have a right, right? They have a right.
So Fish and Game
Stop
can
you,
shoot.
to pull you over.
Fish
They're
and
law
Game can
enforcement.
shoot back.
Yes. Park, I don't know.
Yes,
The
no,
Parks
I'm telling you, no,
Department, I'm just like,
that's the gray area.
The Parks Department officer is I would say it's less than even a traffic cop or even a school safety, because
Yes.
they're not even with the police department.
yeah, I think that for something to go into court, you have to have the prosecutor agree to take it into court, right?
True.
They
True,
have
yes.
to agree
Yes.
and say they agree with the charges, and they make that all formal, right? That has to happen for them to do that. So
Right.
I'm surprised anyone looked at any of this and thought that was a good idea. So did he just end up, so I'm a little confused. Did he end up being actually charged and then having to go to court for it?
No, he was provided with a citation, released on the spot, and all of his gear, his drone, his iPad, phone, and everything was confiscated. The citation was dropped very, very quickly.
Yes.
And obviously
That's
he
what
then
I thought.
got all of his stuff back. Yeah.
Yeah, because someone took a look at it, and I'm sure it was a prosecutor, and went and beat the hell out of these guys.
Yep.
I'm sure,
You know what? That's that taxpayer money.
I've had friends, prosecutors, and they would have had a flaming fit had this happened. And they were going, what did you do? Okay, okay. Fish and Game has more authority than state police. They're feds. Yeah. Yeah, because I know I've seen, like, with semi-automatics behind their heads driving their trucks. And I asked one of the Fish and Game, because he was in court one day, I said, could you arrest me for speeding? Because I didn't think I had to slow down when I see them. And he goes, yes, I can. I'm like, oh. So I started hitting the brakes coming off the mountain.
You came down from the 100 miles an hour you usually fly?
Well, I didn't know, because they had these guns, and I had to go with them to go check something out. And I said, how come you get this big gun? And he goes, because I'm fed. I was like, okay.
Just as a reference, Val, right here. This is Flint Airport. You'll see the yellow area here.
Yeah.
There's the Genesee County Parks right there within that yellow area. So it is a restricted area on the FAA maps. But doesn't mean they can't fly there. There's just additional restrictions there.
Right. I'm beginning to understand that, Paul, because that was
about 11,000 acres or something that is covered by the parks.
Okay, so Jake has had a few problems, not problems, but been pulled over by park rangers. Are park rangers considered law enforcement? They must be.
From what I
They're
understand,
parks employees that they've been given some lateral leeway, but they still fall under the jurisdiction of the overhanging department. Now in Genesee County, they would be employees of the Parks Department, but the Parks Department is not a law enforcement agency, so they would have to defer to the Sheriff Department. So that's why I say, if those guys had taken them down to the Sheriff Department, they'd have gotten held faster before it ever went to the prosecutor.
Yeah,
and it's crazy because apparently in different states, here in the States, the Parks Department is usually a babysitter for people in the park, or he might as well be picking up garbage like the rest
Right, I
of
was
them.
just going to tell you that. He's
Okay.
just a glorified garbage picker up.
So let me tell you this. Okay, every year people in federal and state parks end up in cuffs because they didn't realize that park rangers or park police are real law enforcement officers.
That's at a state level and federal level, not at a local level.
Right, exactly.
Not at a
Exactly.
local level. There's
Now,
no
see,
way.
hold on, Val. There are 2, maybe 3 types of park employees here in New York. You have a parky department person who runs around, they clean up the garbage, and they tell you, hey, no drinking over here, whatever. You can call the cops, whatever. Then you have the Parks Department, New York City Department of Parks Department employee who wears a green shirt, olive green pants, and they say, hey, there's no flying here or no barbecuing or whatever. And then you have their supervisors who ride around, and it's in that order of superiority that they have the most power. The guy with the supervisor, the one with the white shirt, he can actually pull out his pen and write a fine anywhere from $250 to $3,000. Okay, but he does not have the right to arrest you. Now, if you go upstate New York from us, out of the metropolitan area, there are park rangers who can shoot back, tackle you, or do whatever they have to.
Right.
So depending on what level of employees these Parks Department employees were means a lot.
Well, in the state parks too, they also have the same.
You got arrested.
levels
Okay.
of flunkies
What
like you
did
were
you
talking
say,
about.
Herman?
In our state parks too, they also have the similar order of the flunky
Gremlin.
park too. They have the guys who clean up the park. They have those other guys, that they patrol the park, and then they have the guy that got the gun.
I have to look at how I worded the title of my flippin' thing. So it's
Flippin' thing?
about Geeksvana about getting arrested for drone flying.
It looks like he got arrested,
did I
right?
say it wrong? Okay. Geeksvana interviewed a guy who was arrested for drone flying that lives in Michigan.
He was flying in Genesee County.
In Genesee County. And so so the long story short, Canadian Drone Hub, Roger told me, you need to go see this report. And I read it. And then I got a hold of Geeksvana because Roger said, you need to talk to him. And I said, okay. And I pulled him in tonight so I could ask him because he did a lot more than normal people do. He really researched it, really talked with the guy, looked at all the reports. And so he's very knowledgeable on it. So I asked him to come in. So I'm sorry. I did not mean to say he was arrested. Okay, because by the time he said yes, he was coming in, I had like 20 minutes to set it all up. So I put a title because you have to give it a right title.
Hey, Sean, sorry we cut you out of the money because everybody's been putting money in to a fund to get you out of jail, Sean. But
you can give it to me because I welcome. Let's break him out. Scroll up. There are links to the actual story. Yeah. So,
one thing that's actually of interest is it appears the Genesee County Park Rangers have a bit of a history, and as far as being in trouble, there was actually a story in 2011 where they had been asked, the park rangers had actually been warned and been told not to stray from the parks in the future, where they'd actually been
out of here.
Policing illegally outside the parks, volunteering to take calls for the whichever law enforcement.
In other words, doing the local police.
County sheriff. The sheriff booted them out of their jurisdiction.
Right.
Well, I'm going to tell you what happens when the county doesn't have enough officers. They'll swear someone in as one of those. What do they call those? I forgot. But they swear them in as an officer. Deputize them so they can run around and do stuff.
The other thing is that knowing Flint, there's a huge state police presence in Flint. So if they got in any trouble, state police would be right there.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I just it's really hard when you put a uniform on sometimes to remember that you have a lane. You're swimming in
lane,
it,
as they say, right?
You got to in your lane. And it's hard for everyone. Once you know you're swimming in that lane and you're within the court systems and you have that authority, it's really hard to stay right there in your lane. It is. Sometimes you can drift and meander and get in a lot of trouble for it, right?
Yep.
Val, where I come from, it's
a
called
huge pool.
Val, where I come from, that's called a slacker.
Yeah. That's,
If
I
you're
think
not
that's
doing your
right.
job,
So,
you're doing extracurricular stuff, you have too much time on your hand, go back to doing your job.
this channel, I'm just going to say, I'm hiding the user on this channel because I don't want to see him again. I'm sorry, your name not going to be here. Okay, let's go. Yeah.
I didn't see who it was, but okay.
Yeah. He's talking about slapping that whatever. And I think we had that on Roger's channel one day, and I think I knew who it is. So no, bad
Good
boy.
catch, Val, because I didn't even catch it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I say you got to watch this and you got to watch over here. And I got to say, guys, all my mods in here, you're blue, feel free to whack-a-mole because that's my favorite game. I couldn't help
Whack-a-mole?
Whack-a-troll.
If I had saw it, I would have definitely tackled it.
It's Whack-a-troll. I know, Gremlin, you missed it. Come on. Aren't you FPV? Aren't you supposed to be fast?
Hey, I haven't heard anything from the ankleless boys.
Send a whoop video. Huh?
I haven't heard anything from the ankleless
They're
boys.
playing video games by now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my grandson right now is saying, how come you keep dying? Stop getting us to die. And then he's going to get a hold of me and go, Grandma, can you help me buy some virtual clothes for my virtual people? And I'm like, I can't even clothe you. What am I clothing virtual people for? And then I'll send them $10. Yeah. We have to get Mark into send a whooping drill. Yeah, I appreciate all this talk about this. I find all this kind of stuff very fascinating because I know enough of the law to get in trouble. Even though I worked in the courts for 14 years, you get to know enough to get yourself in trouble. And I think that might be what happened with our park guy. And to have a policeman roll up and tell him to arrest the guy. I mean, he's an officer. He should have given him the right message. Just ticket him and send him on his way. That's it. And he can go cleared up.
You want to know what? It's quite popular here in New York. It's very easily to get stopped by a police officer if they are 4 hours away from punching out. Because if they can take you into the precinct, when it's time to punch out, they finish the paperwork and go home and you're stuck there. I'm sorry, but that's the way it works in New York sometimes.
Ouch.
Yeah, so you don't want to get into trouble when they're about to change shifts because then they're pissed at you that they got to do overtime doing work.
Well, nobody likes overtime unless they're getting paid for it. I mean, I don't mind. I work over all the time.
They'll get a whole lot of it here in the city. That's how they make those great salaries that they have.
I gotta say, officers do not make great money, most of them.
In the city, they do. All that overtime that they get, they doing all right.
Well, sadly, though, nowadays, they're all targets. They're all getting killed left and right.
They need to make their shift quota.
Especially those
you know
guys.
What? I got to tell you, when you stop and you give someone a ticket, there's not a lot of money in that, especially if you're a county giving someone on a state highway or thoroughfare a ticket. There's not a lot of money in that for counties. Oh man, in Alaska, they make very good money, but they have to put up with a lot of crap. You know what? And that's my
money.
Huh?
The guys out in Long Island are making pretty good money.
Yes.
Are they?
Yes.
You know, in these small rural counties,
you want to know what? Nassau County, out here, Val, they have Nassau County Police. It's a part of Long Island with the Hamptons, Martha's Vineyards, you know, VIP, rich people live out there. But to make a long story short, you do not, and I repeat, you do not want to get arrested in Nassau County or Suffolk County. And when I say that, first of all, their prosecutors prosecute to the fullest extent. And if they take you to jail, you're going to see a judge. You're going to see a damn judge, and there's nothing you can do about it. And don't get locked up where they have to post bail. You're not making it. You're not from Nassau County or Suffolk County. We're not even offering you bail. You're going to stay here. Your family's going to come and visit you, and plain and simple.
As they should, Lawrence. That's what she said. She's a federal investigator. She's saying, yep.
You just couldn't help yourself, could you?
Take them away.
Yeah.
No, I got to tell you, it depends on where you work, what county you work for. You know, I remember we had one officer who did nothing but write tickets and come in with big stacks, and everybody's looking at going, holy hell, because not everyone pays. They all want to come and get their court time, and there's not enough judge to be able to cover all that, right? So they're trying to slip them through really fast. I think sometimes those guys get a bad shift. She's like, what the hell? What are you doing?
And Lynn says, as they should. It's true, as they should, but I'm going to let you know, you do not want to get locked up on a Friday night, because you're not getting out until Monday morning. Easy. When they say they're not supposed, you have up to 72 hours, they will keep you up until that 70th hour before you see a judge. So they're making money off your behind.
Yeah, if you go in on Friday, you're not seeing anyone till Monday. They don't.
Exactly.
No, they don't do that.
Whereas here, but in the metropolitan area, you know, the 5 boroughs, Brooklyn, Queens, you could mess around and do something stupid and see a judge by tomorrow.
Yeah,
because there's so many people.
Stop that nonsense.
There's so many people in the system getting arrested, and so many people doing stuff.
Yeah,
they're running them like this.
Okay, so real quick, Lewis, you're probably right, but I always want to talk to you. You are a flyer of extraordinary skill. So I always love talking to you. My nephew is a homicide cop, but he just wants to do his job and go home. Yeah, I bet. You know what? Courts run around the clock in New York City. Yeah, they don't in a small case. He's like, no. They go home. They don't like staying.
But getting back to your story, Sean, please keep us abreast of what's going on. Please.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
As soon as you find out something, I already have the bell clicked for your channel. So whenever you put out stuff, I get it within an hour or whatever. It's kind of weird. You click the bell on some people's live streams, you get it in a minute, and some people, you get it. I get your alerts minutes after you post, but Herman lives here in Brooklyn, a half hour from me, and I don't get it until the next day sometimes.
Over here.
Does Herman post at a particular time of day or anything?
Yes. Actually,
if I'm uploading a video, it's usually for like 12 o'clock on Thursdays.
Okay.
But,
and one tip that I saw from a YouTube, a chap that works for YouTube, basically said that you should upload at something like 20 past, because there's less. Everybody uploads on the hour. And so a lot of smaller channels notifications get lost. So I tend to upload at a very odd time, like 17 minutes past, 23 minutes past.
Okay.
It seems to work.
I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that this Monday.
Until they change it, of course.
5 a.m. I launch at 5 a.m. to get the European views. And usually by about 7 or 8 p.m., 6 hours after here in the U.S., then I start getting the East Coast. And I'm trying to work on demographics, so when I'm asleep, I can get views as well.
So I need to interrupt us for a minute because I hate not talking to the chat anyway. And Plummet, I don't know if you're still in, but I just adore you. Thanks for coming in. We're staying longer, but let me say hi. Jake Sloan, my favorite Alaskan. How are you doing? Thank you for coming in. The Gremlin. Of course, Novice Quad's on the panel. We have Louis P. Floyd, which I now call Puddin, because the proof isn't in the pudding. That is an extraordinary flyer. We have Furball Kim in here. We have, let's see, we have more. We had John Coopy was here. He may still be here. We have Mike Roche. We have Juan Corso. We have Coast to Coast Drones Now and Drone Junkie. Yeah, Diplomat's still here, and John Coopy is still here. And I want to say who's on my panel tonight. Of course, I sent Rojo a link, but I don't know what happened to Rojo. But we have Sean, which is Geeksvana, who actually put the story out there where I could see it. We have Paul Murray, the famous Paul. And he's our guy who's making everything work out here tonight. He's really watching my chat for me really great. So thank you, Paul. We have Novice Quads, which we call Lawrence. We have Herman, Phantom Flight 101. And let's see, of course, me, Val's Life. Let's see, everyone raise your hand and say present, Ms. Val. Yes, if you wouldn't mind, I want to make sure because I'm keeping notes. And thank you to Lynn Ann as well, who's been very good with the links and yes,
also
the
backup information from her years of experience, of course.
You know, the one thing I love is when someone who's worked like Lynn has can come in and be part of that conversation. Because she's going to have, I work with the courts 14 years. I do not have near the experience or the knowledge that Lynn has. So I love it, Lynn, when you come in. I'm so happy to have her in.
Lynn,
and of course, she knows Paul.
Lynn gave me a lot of information about the USS United States ship. Now I have a reason to go back when I go to Italy and actually fly that ship.
Drone Life. Hi, how you doing? So basically what we've been talking about tonight is the story that Sean brought onto YouTube for us about the guy who was arrested for flying a drone in a park. He was arrested by a park ranger, and basically a police officer said, yeah, arrest him, take him down. Now, the charges didn't stick, of course, because I'm sure the prosecutor and the people up just said, no, you're not doing this. It'd be like Andy Griffin going, really, you came in here with this? That's more Paul's analogy. But that's exactly what I think happened. Prosecutors, really, they're there to make sure that this stuff doesn't go through. But it doesn't mean the commission did not stand by their officer and try to put it in a real fast to cover. And to say, he was doing exactly what we wanted him to.
I want to know what, Val? It sounds like that prosecutor got his first real job in years.
Huh? What do you mean?
It sounds like he got his first real job in years, because apparently to take on a case like that, you must either be bored out your damn mind or
well, that's why he didn't take on the case. I'm guaranteeing.
He dropped the case. The case was dropped immediately.
The problem is a lot of time your commissioner or your prosecutor is also the legal person for the commission. Also, they do a dual role. If she's doing or he's doing a dual role, then they can sit there and tell the commission over and over, please don't do it. And commission's still going to do what they do. They don't always take advice. Yeah. It's just part of the game. Yeah. So they do what they want to do. And then you go in front of them. And until they're really forced into that corner, they're not going to back down usually.
Sean, you're doing
my experience anyway.
Considering it's 1 or 2 a.m. over in the UK.
Yes, it is. Although this isn't my last call. I have another call to make afterwards. But
oh my goodness!
I tell you, I love Geeksvana.
The late one.
I got a hold of him really late in the day, and he was like, "I'd be happy to do that for you, Valerie." So I am so happy, and I did tell him.
Put your link to your channel.
I would understand.
Sean. Say hello in the chat. Yep.
Put the link to your channel, Sean, so people.
If Val calls, I answer.
There you go.
Yes, there we go.
I was so happy.
Put your channel so people can support you and keep up.
That's a link to the video, which people can find me from there.
So guys,
from the UK,
please make sure you watch that video. It's about 18 minutes long. I got all the way through, but then I had to go on. I got to the last 4 minutes. I've been trying to put it on. I kept getting calls today, but it's so fascinating, especially if you ever worked within the law in any way or been stopped by someone. It was interesting. Oh, are you leaving, Lynn Ann? She said night all.
Lynn.
Thank you so much.
Lenny.
Thank you so much.
She's got a favorite show on.
Okay, I can understand that.
Very
Lynn.
cool.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't thank you enough.
Yes.
For being
I've learned a lot this evening. Thank you very much.
She's so cool. But that's why Paul likes her. Yeah, Paul?
She likes the NCIS shows because it's so real. It's like what she used to do, you know?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That's the same thing. My uncle was a lawyer, and his favorite show was L.A. Law.
Yeah.
You know, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I watch old English things like Forsyth or Grantchester. Yeah, that's what I watch. I don't want anything on here, and I play too much the real game. I don't want to see it on
So,
TV.
Sean, you have to do another live stream after this?
No, I've just got a call work-wise.
And what time do you have to go to work?
I work from home, so I work when I feel like it, basically.
So you can sit there in your slippers and your jammies and work away, right?
Yeah. My dressing gown is just over there.
Sean does other work than just YouTube, and he does some phenomenal stuff. But one day he told us some stuff, but he'll one day tell us all about it. But this is his hobby, and he loves it. And he does a good job at making sure the news is exact news.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I'm a writer in my full-time life, but there are just non-disclosure agreements and things that stop you talking on other media, and technically even my own YouTube channel is other media. So
Hickory man. So that's why I don't, Sean and I had that discussion about non-disclosure and stuff like that. So I can't talk a lot about it, but he's cool. I like him.
Very boring though.
Yeah. We find it exciting, but he finds it boring. So when you're good at something, maybe that's what happens. But I thought this was really just a really cool story, because I can't believe they arrested him. But I am telling you, having been within the court system, I know that prosecutor was ready to wring necks. She's probably saying, just drop this, or he dropped this like a hot potato. Do it fast.
So with a citation then, so the citation was issued. Who is it that would have actually dropped that? Is it the park rangers the following day would have said, the chief would have said, actually we can't, that's is it within their power to drop it, or would it have needed to go through some kind of system?
You know what they do, this is what I understand. I'm not sure about the park ranger situation, but usually they take the ticket, they put it down, and it goes in. A lot of times it doesn't even need a prosecutor, because they can just sign it. Once they arrested him, it became a whole different deal with the misdemeanor charge, and that's when the prosecutor would have looked and said, what the hell are you doing? And got it.
Misdemeanor is pretty much, you get a smack on the hand, and you go through the process of being booked, which means you get put into the system. It's still a smack on the hand, but you get the embarrassment of walking out the prison and having to experience sitting in a cell, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think, a lot of times they can charge you with the misdemeanor. You never end up getting really arrested as such. It can be a ticket like distracted driving, reckless driving. Those things can ratchet right up into felony. But what they will do is when that happens, the prosecutor, when they go, I'm going to go to court, you're going to have the prosecutor sitting in there. They have to look and say, yes, we're going into court with this. This isn't something the judge doesn't say, yeah, let's go into court. It's the prosecutor has to be willing and think she has enough evidence to go in when they want to fight it.
In fact, Sean, the prosecutor is like what they have here in the States called state police. Now, the state police have jurisdiction over local police, because they can come into your town and tell you what to do, etc. Now, if a state police officer pulls you over, you're getting a damn ticket. I don't care what you say, how much money you have, you're getting a ticket from a state police officer. They rarely stop you, and when they do, it's just cause.
They didn't give me a ticket. I was coming home.
Val, try that sugar honey iced tea here in New York.
And they didn't give me a ticket. They understood. It was an accident. I wouldn't have sped if I knew it. So he let me go.
Yeah.
You hear them say, "Step out of the car."
Right?
I'm just saying.
After that,
once you hear "step out of the car, ma'am," and don't believe all of that stuff you see on YouTube where the state officer comes and says, "Step out of your car." The guy rolls the window up and leaves it cracked open this wide because he's going to call for backup. He's going to let backup know he's about to bust your window open and drag you out of that damn car.
You got mean officers.
No, that's the norm here. You got
tell
to
him
like
that nonsense about how you didn't know you were speeding. First thing he's going to do is he's going to ask you for your license and registration.
Yes.
Oh, he did. They asked for that, and I gave it to him.
But no.
You gave it to him, right? So now you asked him, well, what happened? And he told you why he stopped you. And you told him you didn't know you were speeding. The next thing coming is step out of the car.
Oh, yeah. They don't do that to me.
Val,
see, I'm telling you, Geeksvana.
No, Herman's right.
Guys,
that's what he's thinking.
But they never do it.
Because that's what he's thinking right now. One of us has got to be a fool here. There's no way you're going to tell me he didn't know you were speeding.
Yeah.
No, because I ended up in this town when I thought I was still on the highway. I was in Nevada, and he was really nice. I like nice officers.
You want to know what? I'm going to tell you something right now. Between New York City police officers, okay, I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to go there. There's enough news out there for you to see. But when it comes to a state officer, you just pull over, and if he asks for your ID, you know when he gives you your ID back, you got a damn ticket. There is no, oh, my wife's having a baby in the back seat, give me your damn ID.
Well, you might be able to swing that one, but when you look at an officer and tell him, I didn't know I was speeding.
No, I told him, I said, I am so sorry. It won't happen again.
We see in the UK, if you said that in the UK, they would also prosecute you for careless driving because you didn't know the speed limit, the road you're driving down, etc. So
no, they don't do that to me.
Well, you could have put the puppy dog eyes on and everything here in New York. I'm sure you didn't know you were going that fast, but I caught you at so-and-so speed. And right there, the look on your face is going to say, just give me the damn ticket.
Well, it's either that I tell them, put it on my tab. They go, you have a tab? And I go, no, I don't, because I've only been ticketed once in my life. And that's only because I was in a school zone.
You better stay the hell out of New York.
No, they're really nice. I mean, if you're not just being belligerent and stuff here, they're pretty nice.
But state police officers here in New York, you can be belligerent, you can be blonde like Marilyn Monroe. They don't give a damn.
Yeah. And if the guy ticketed me, I could have understood it. I would have understood it.
Unmute yourself, Paul.
Paul,
didn't you get in trouble when you ran that guy in the wheelchair over in the crosswalk?
Oh my God, Paul. That'll be the next thing. Well, let me get back to, I know some officers give lots of tickets and some just, they don't. So I'm going to say, so Geeksvana, where are we going from here? They're going to show up in court. Is it court or they're going to be a commission hearing?
It is the court. It is the court. It's actually, let me bring the details up.
District court. That's a state court.
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe it's the 7th District Court.
Yep.
Okay.
So yes. Yeah. So it's on August 26th at 10 a.m. in Flint, Michigan, in the District 7 courthouse.
Okay. So that's state. Correct. And so basically what they're saying is tell me so they're actually saying we're going to go to court to get the commission to reverse the
It is
ordinance.
basically what they're saying is that the GCPC have overstepped their jurisdictional authority regarding aircraft and specifically violated Michigan's state law MCL 259.305 that disallows localities from creating or enforcing their own drone ordinances. That's the specific, that's what they're going to court that particular day for.
And you know what, Night Train, that's what they said that's happening in Genesee County. So it's the Genesee County courthouse.
Yeah, no, it's actually the district court in Michigan have several district courts around the state. And what they do is they usually are the first court if you have a litigation problem between a city, county, and the state. So you go there and you look for a judgment or relief or however you want to call it.
Yeah. So I think that's a good idea. I got to say, I'm glad that they're taking it into court because I think it's a question that needs to be clarified. So I think it's a good idea.
Well, whether the results turn out good or bad, I'm hoping that they do turn out in favor of the 107 pilot, because what's going to happen is people are going to start thinking, hey, if that 107 pilot got arrested, there's going to be another and another and another. And then people are going to say, what the hell am I a 107 pilot for if I'm getting arrested for flying legally? Now, he did mention that he was flying as a hobbyist. There's a difference. As a 107 licensed pilot, you're doing it commercially, you're doing it for money, you're doing it for hire. But as a hobbyist, he could have been out there with his kid. God forbid he was out there with his kid and his family, and that happened. That could have got real ugly.
I gotta say, I'm hoping that had that been the case, that the officer would have taken a bit of a back step. You know, I think something happened somewhere along the line where that officer wasn't going to give an inch. And who knows, maybe he ran into a couple people doing stupid stuff and he was already riled up and in a bad place. And unfortunately, that goes off. Yeah, they can't. A lot of times, people can't pull themselves back from the destruction.
I know that it's this particular action's being watched very closely because I think there's 4 or 5 other states where they're having a similar issue, and there is actually an organization that have already approached Jason and his droning colleagues to say that they would back them should they need to appeal it, because it does have implications, you know, across
It could be a great win for drone pilots across the states. Because
absolutely.
Once it breaks news and starts traveling that, hey, this dude got arrested and the county, city, state was in fault, I'm not going to say there's a bunch of copycat guys out there, but you're going to see repercussions, good or bad.
Yep.
I agree.
I
completely
bad
agree.
that this is happening because I
got
really
that
do
ball.
think had the officer just taken a step back and said, you know what, this is why I'm saying this. This is my concern with what you're doing. Regardless if you're 107, you're not doing, you're here as a hobbyist, and we really would prefer you go. And if he said, no, I don't have to go. Well, we've seen a lot of YouTube videos where guys say that. They go, I'm not going to go. And then they kind of push those limits. So I don't know. I wish it could have been avoided, but maybe there needs to be clarity. I'm only worried that once there's clarity, the clamps may come down even harder than what they already are, right? So we're going to get a lot more.
You want to know what's really strange about this? And this goes to show how true to heart this drone hobby is. In New York, I'm not going to lie, at any given time, Herman can correct me, but at any given time, day, or I'd say during the day, I'm not even going to include at night. During the day, there's anywhere from 20 to 50, maybe 75 pilots flying around in the metropolitan area during the day. If the sun is out and the weather's good, people are flying here in New York. And I'm surprised nothing like that has happened here in New York. But to hear it happening in Michigan, I can almost guarantee you're going to start hearing about this happening in other states now. Like Sean mentioned, excuse me, there are several other cases going on.
Yeah, and I think that's the point that there's going to be a precedent set, and depending on how far they appeal it, they do the state, then they can go up onto the federal level, and depending on how far they want to appeal it is where it starts getting pretty tricky. But there's a lot of steps before it gets there, right? A lot of little steps got to go before it gets
absolutely. And hopefully the state, if the state court will be, obviously they're going to come down on the state side, aren't they? So I would hope that after the 26th it is going to be cleared up. And then certainly I certainly hope that from a local level as well for the Flyers of Michigan, so that they can get on and enjoy the hobby. Because just taking some drones down to a park and being surrounded by a shark's sort of gathering of police cars driving around and around is pretty intimidating.
Part though of a district court setup, right? You when you leave the magistrate where you're appointed, right, you go up into district court, then people are actually voting for you. The thing I like about that system is they will go against state if they have to. A lot of judges are pretty good about that. They'll say, hey, I don't care what you're saying, state. This is what we're going to say, because the state can't fire them. The people fired them.
Right.
Because they get voted in. That's why the system is a little more like that. And so they carry, I got to say, I have a lot of faith in the court system, though I have seen things that I have not liked in the court system. But I still tend to hold a lot of faith. So I'm hoping that that will be settled within that state instead of having to go up into different levels. And
indeed, absolutely. To answer Furball Kim regarding, he has mentioned donuts and corned beef sandwiches a few times. We did actually digitally enhance the picture, and we found out that it was a McDonald's fillet of fish that the police officer was eating. So perhaps you need to carry a few of those around. We were so hoping it was donuts, but it wasn't, unfortunately.
It was, and they got to eat. Guys got to eat.
Absolutely, yeah. And he's eating in his car. He's trying to stay on shift.
Got to eat. He's got to eat, and that's all there is to that. He's got to find his food. But I was just so surprised that the guy arrested him. But the arrest didn't stand. They threw it out. So I think then he came back and said, now we're going to clear this up. So I'm glad he has help doing that. I think people have to step out and do those kind of things.
Yeah, and the only point that we reached the situation where they said, okay, we're going to take this further, is basically when they turned up to fly at the park for themselves, and the police closed one of the parks and then surrounded them at another park and intimidated them out of it. That was the point where they said, okay, for our civil liberties as well, we need to do something here. And that's when they decided to go to court.
Right. And I think that's what had to happen, unfortunately.
See what you started here, Sean, with the donuts?
Yeah, no.
Now I'm jealous.
At him. Don't even look at him. It's not good. So what I'm going to do, guys, really quick. Hold on. Let me go ahead and put that link back in. So I went and I watched, like I've said a couple times, I watched Geeksvana's report on a guy getting arrested for flying a drone. And so there is his link. It should work because I did it right this time. And so it's Geeksvana channel. And what I'd like to say is I hope you will go in there and watch it and give him those views so that, and hit that bell. So the next update he has, you're going to see it. If you don't hit the bell, you're going to have to go try to find those videos. Oh, Lynn said she watched a video. Thank you, Lynn. Was playing watch it. So go and subscribe to Geeksvana. He has great drone news. Hit that bell so you're always notified. Okay. So that's what I want to see you do. If you don't have to, but I think you should do it.
Thank you.
So anyway, yeah, agree with James. Let's see. So yeah, because I gotta say, oh, and Lynn subscribed to you. So now you have a lot more help because she knows her stuff.
Yes, Lynn needs to become my channel's federal advisor for any stories I get over there now.
I am the donut advisor. Paul is the brownie advisor. We are part of Geeksvana tribe. No, actual federal. Why does hers sound so much more impressive than ours? I'm just
Why
saying.
does what sound impressive?
Her title, the federal advisor, is so much
Retired federal investigator is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm like the donut
That means you always get
investigator.
a cool title from there on in. So she has
Right
literally
there.
earned her stripes.
Right
Yeah,
there
she
with the
has.
ID thing.
Retired, Val, retired.
What happened, Herman?
I was asking Val, what does a donut investigator do?
They investigate donuts.
Okay, so
They look at them, they open them, they go, ooh, this is jelly.
Val, I'm going to behave myself tonight.
Send me a link so I can get in on the after show, please. Okay. Okay, Roger. Hold on, Roger. Yeah, sorry, I forgot that. Hey, Paul, could you do me a favor?
Uh-huh.
Could you please take over for a minute while I go up? I may have to pick someone else.
She says as he just takes a mouthful of donut there.
That's
Right.
how I roll. I wait for that. Actually, I was sending Roger a link.
He's
Here.
like, I could take over if I don't choke on this donut.
Right.
Hey, Lawrence, what a way to go. Oh,
You want to know what? I might have to agree with you on that.
Are you eating too? Is everyone eating donuts but me?
No.
Len
Yep.
throw a rock at his
I
window.
don't have donuts anywhere near me, actually.
Paul
So-
Murray, dang, you get me hungry. Val's going for an ice cream truck. I wish, because I would so do that. So, guys, I will be right back. Paul, be nice.
okay, I'll switch to ice cream since you mentioned. I'll go get ice cream.
Okay. Novice, take over. I'll be right back.
All right. Since Val left me in charge, what are we going to talk about? Val doing 100 miles per hour or donuts? Pick a topic, guys.
Donuts.
The only thing
Donuts.
true about donuts is that was what my major in college was police administrations, and I love donuts. So,
I'm sorry. I was just reading someone gave
See
me
you, Mike Kelly.
Louis
See
P.
you.
Floyd, you got the drone that does 100 miles per hour? Because if you do, I'd love to see that video. You did say you have some Cinewhoop footage. I'm looking forward to seeing some. I'm looking forward. Me personally, I don't have the time. I'm trying. There's just not enough hours in a day, honestly, to do FPV, the camera drone thing, those guys thing, my personal thing, and then I'm in a group here locally in Far Rockaway. Oh, Val was driving 100 miles per hour.
yes.
Jeez.
Roger was on the phone with her, and she was complaining about the car making noises and making faces at her.
The car was saying, slow the hell down.
Take a break. Yeah.
The car was saying, slow the hell down. I don't want to die.
I said that cop was being nice because when she told him she didn't know she was speeding.
You know, it'll probably get to a point, Herman. Someday the cop will look in the car and look at the dash and say, how fast was she going? You know, the car will say, way too fast.
Mhm.
Well, we have actually had prosecutions in this country where people's satellite navigation has been used against them.
What?
I
Yeah,
was
for speed.
muted.
Now, what happened? Fall down?
I don't know. I don't
Glasses
know.
were disheveled and she's
What is
eating
that?
now.
Cookies?
Nuts.
Nuts.
She's got nuts.
Leave that alone.
Mike, are you leaving? Bye, Mike.
Lawrence.
No, leave me alone. I'm really trying really hard here.
I slipped. I didn't mean it.
What?
We got one.
I slipped, Val. It was the hidden meaning I said, Val's got nuts. And so down the rabbit hole, you know.
I just got a text from someone who says, now, I'm not going to say who it was, and I'm not going to quote exact words, but hey, Law, I know you don't support Drone U, which is actually wrong. I do watch Drone U. I think that guy Paul is blank, but I know they watch your cast. They throw shade and they copy what they see from other channels, and they were just in New York. So I don't know what this text is supposed to mean, but either they were just in New York and they were watching those guys or whatever, or local New York videos, whatever the case. I'll be watching for Drone U when they put something out. I do support their channel because Paul does know when it comes to 107 stuff. Paul, he knows his sugar.
Oh, I thought you meant Paul Murray.
No. Paul's the chief pilot over at Drone U.
Yeah.
And they actually, I asked a question and they answered it one day.
But I'm interested to see what kind of video they did. The text says they were just in New York. Okay. And apparently they didn't have a whole lot of nice things to say either about New York drone pilots or New York live streams. I don't know. Like I said, when they come out with the video, I'll probably be on it pretty quickly. But it was just interesting to receive a text like that.
Yeah. Well, you know some of the same people you know.
Well, if he mentioned that they watch our live stream, maybe they mentioned something about our live stream. Who knows? I personally don't care, because them mentioning us on their live stream, woohoo!
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Geeksvana?
Absolutely.
Sean, when you get more news, will you come on and tell us?
No.
Okay.
No, as I said, when Val calls, I will answer.
Yeah, because I'll be watching.
Thank you.
I'll be watching your channel and look for it, because the minute I see it, I'm going to.
Sorry about that. I gotta mute this, and I don't know how. Let me mute myself.
It was nice music.
No, I was actually clicking on a link, and I should have muted.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, we're at the end of the show. Everyone stay in the chat if you don't mind. Stay here. I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming in. Look at Louis P. I'll be watching your video for sure. Geeksvana, again. Guys, if you don't have him, Geeksvana, can you put something in the chat?
Hey, Val. Before you go, Corey Amano was in the chat, and he's the one that sent you the motors, so you might want to say hi.
I did say hi to Corey Mano.
Okay, just want to make sure.
He keeps me straight. Yes, he does. Yes, I love Corey Mano. He was so much fun up at Rogers. He really was. We had such a good time. So anyway, I just want to say, Valerie, do you remember that guy to see you all? Oh, what? Oh, hold on. Do you remember that guy that was droning over Epstein's Island? Yep, I remember that. What happened?
Well, it says they're using his footage on Fox News.
Yes.
Of course they are. Oh my God.
Wow.
Thank you, Destination Chronicles. Thank you.
Bye, Louis P.
So, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for coming in. It's 7:05. Thank you for staying a little bit late. Geeksvana, you put yours. Guys, remember, go get him. Subscribe to him. Hit his bell. That way you always get noticed. You always get whatever he's saying. You get it first.
Yep.
And
remember, Wednesday night, tomorrow night is Phantom Flight 101. Those guys.
That's me.
And Sunday night, those guys, 5 o'clock, followed by at 7 o'clock, Val's Life.
Okay, so I'll go back to what I was saying. Thanks, Paul. So anyway, guys, there's a lot of good shows on, especially tomorrow, but I don't have to tell you because Paul just did it. Paul. He never gives me time to do anything.
Well, you were busy eating nuts, and I did that.
Because I wanted them. I got hungry. I was watching you all. So anyway, guys, remember, those guys, I want to thank you guys for coming in and being part of this. I don't know what happened to Justin, but hopefully we'll have him Sunday night. Huh?
Anytime.
Thank you. And Paul for coming in and moderating for me. Thank you, Paul. Geeksvana for letting me call him at the last minute saying, please, please, please come on my channel. I want to talk about it. So I just super. And Destination, thanks for coming in. Was Blind Lynn, my gals. You are so great. Thank you so much. And everyone else in the chat. I love you, and I will catch you at the next one. I got to figure out how to get off of here. Hold on. Guys, stay just 1 second. Stop.
As I very awkwardly wave for several minutes.
I'm waiting to see how long I can get them to do it. Look at Lawrence. He's not even waving. Lawrence, I'm not going.
Oh, bye. Sorry.
I'm just leaving everyone waving like really for a long time.